revoke a straight party ticket, you will not be voting for a school board member. After selecting a straight ticket, you will be given the option to view the nonpartisan races. You must view these races in order to fill those seats. You may vote for up to 3 candidates. If you're interested in finding out more information about each candidate or to learn how to contact them, go to the PTA's school board candidate website, sites.google.com/view/DD2 SP candidates. You can find that link posted on the District 23 Facebook page or requesting a link from emailing presidencym@district23pta.org. DD2 School Board has 9 candidates running this year. All of them are here with us tonight. I would like to thank Barbara Crosby, Chris Digby, Evan Guthrie, Brooks Moore, Lewis Smith, Frankie Strawley, Lisa H. Tupper, James Weaver, and Ashley Wimberly for joining us this evening. Thank you to the Dorchester District 2 team for all of their help in making this event happen. Thank you to the members of the community who have submitted so many excellent questions. Several questions have repeat topics. In those instances, only one question was selected. If a question was directed at an individual or a personal matter, it was not used. All questions will be provided to the candidates following this event, so they may choose to answer unasked questions on their own platforms. This evening's forum will be moderated by J.J. Missouri. We greatly appreciate that time that he has generously shared with us tonight. Once again, thank you all, and thank you, J.J. Missouri.
Good evening. We have a few rules that we're going to start off with. For tonight's format, we will move through introductions, questions, and closing statements in alphabetical order. Each candidate will have 60 seconds for their introductory statement. Candidates will then have 90 seconds to respond to each question. In an effort to get through as many questions as possible, there will not be time for rebuttals. In the end, there will be 60 seconds for each candidate to make a closing statement. Candidates, when you hear the timer, please stop immediately. We will begin the 60-second introductory statements, starting with Ms. Crosby.
First, I'd like to say thank you to the PTA for hosting this forum and having us all here tonight. First and foremost, serving the school board is all about children. Having taught for 30 years, raised 3 children and my grandchildren, I know that in my heart that I have a passion for serving children and their families. God put me here for a reason, and I'm grateful for that. Having 2 master's degrees, one in elementary education, one in early childhood education, I also have a master's in school administration and leadership, at EDS in science, and I'm endorsed it in gifted and talented. All of those qualities have given me the knowledge to work with a working budget, to look at policies, to look at different curriculum, all the different aspects that's involved in education. Serving on the board for 12 years has provided me the opportunity to interact and also to make critical decisions for our kids. Is that the end?
Good evening. Thank you again for having us. Like Ms. Crosby said, appreciate the District 23 PTA putting this together. The work that you guys do is vital to what we're doing. So if you're watching at home, get involved with your local PTA. It's important, really important right now to support our teachers and our parents. So get involved if you're not already. My name is Chris Digby, and so I'm running for school board because, like Ms. Crosby said, I also have a heart for serving children, serving young people. I exhibited that when I spent 7 years in the classroom here in Dorchester too. I taught at Oakbrook Middle School and I taught at Somerville High School. I also coached multiple sports in Dorchester District 2. I was a substitute teacher in Dorchester 2. I was a student in Dorchester 2. I've worn a lot of hats in the district. I currently am a real estate attorney in downtown Somerville, and I have a heart for service, and that's why I'm here. I want to continue serving our community in the way that I already have, and using the knowledge and the experience that I've built over my time here. I want to continue to serve our community in the most meaningful way possible.
My name is Evan Guthrie. I'm just finishing my first term on the school board, and really being part of the First Institute family, the culture of excellence, that's really our job as board members to keep this good thing going. I realize how special our school district is and how much work is put into it. And that's really our job as board members is to make sure that we keep this good thing going, that we're able to do this. And then we're going to make sure that just as a board members, the biggest skills is being able to listen and teamwork. And that's really how we have strength of the board and be able to work together to make decisions that are in the best interest of every student in the district. And we work hard every day to make sure we put the best possible product forward for our community, uplift the community, make sure that we can win for everybody. Thank you very much.
My name is Brooks Moore. I'm running for the board. I've spent 50 years serving the children of this state. I was a teacher, a principal, assistant principal, a principal specialist with the State Department of Education, a consultant. I was a principal in a school that had a poverty index of 95%. I was a principal in a school that had a poverty index of 5%. All children alike. They need to be loved, validated, and appreciated. I applaud everyone that's running tonight. There's not a person on this forum that would not be a fantastic board member. I think I have one thing that helps me, I hope, and that's my experience, 50 years of serving kids. I appreciate the opportunity to run for the board in such a wonderful district. We have great teachers, we have great parents, we have great administrators, and we have a great superintendent. I hope that I get blessed enough to be a part of this system and to give back what education has given to me. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lewis Smith. I am part of this community, a product of this community. I was educated, started at Alston a long while ago and went from there to University of Maine. I have traveled the world and spoke passionately about education and the possibilities thereof. I was a teacher. I was a senior administrator of over 300 kids over at the Coastal Center. And I've worked in various capacities as far as being a senior administrator in the furniture industry, as well as my later years with the Community Resource Center. I am compassionately involved in the community. I know the issues, and I accept this responsibility. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Frankie Staropoli. Went to Alston, graduated Somerville High School in '99. Been a part of this community since then. I have 2 daughters in the district. We are very invested in their education, my wife and I. I have been on the Education Foundation for the past 5 years. I have also been involved in community service, including the Coastal Center, MUSC Children's Cancer Center, families trying to adopt children, homeless drives for clothing and food. So my family and I are very adamant about making sure that the children that we have grow up in a community that we experience at a younger age. We want to make sure that the children go through the education system that we remember. DD2 is still a shining jewel in our state, but we want to make sure that it stays that way and enhances from there. I look forward to working to be a part of that growth. As a father of the 2 daughters we have and just a community person involved, it really means a lot to me to make sure that I play a role in that and not just sit on the sidelines and critique. So thank you guys for all being here. Appreciate it.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. My name is Lisa Tupper, and I am a mother of 4. My husband and I own a small business in Somerville. I currently serve on the Somerville YMCA board and am honored to serve as the school board vice chair currently. When my children were in school, it was a priority for us to be involved because we know that parents that are involved have the best outcomes for their children. So I have served in classrooms, in school offices, I've served on SICs, I have served as PTA committee chairmen, I have served as PTA presidents. All of those things I did for my children to have the best school they could attend. But also because I wanted every child who attended those schools to get the best benefit. And if I am honored to serve, to continue to serve, I will continue that focus and make sure all children receive a quality education. Thank you.
Hi, my name is James Weaver. First, I'd like to thank the District 23 PTA for hosting this event this evening, in addition to Dorchester District 2 for allowing us to use this facility. I'd also like to thank the South Carolina and the Somerville Education Association for their recommendation for me and my candidacy for Dorchester District 2 School Board. I'm born and raised in the Low Country. I've lived in Dorchester County for 14 years with my wife, Tamika Weaver. We have two little boys, Jackson, who's 7 in 2nd grade, and Tyler, who's 13 in 8th grade, who attend our DD2 schools. Through my parents' service, I began serving in 1991 when I joined the South Carolina Army National Guard, and today I serve as a company commander in the Army National Guard. And through my military and collegiate experience, I began working in higher education 20 years ago and currently serve as the president for ECPI University. I've supported our district over the years through many facets, serving on boards and advisory boards at the district level and also at the school level. I'm looking forward to your vote for school board. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you to the District 23 PTA for hosting this event. My name is Ashley Wimberly. I grew up in Spartanburg, went to Wofford College, where I met my husband Mark, who is from Somerville. From there, I attended MUSC and got a doctorate degree in pharmacy. My husband Mark and I have lived in Somerville for the last 12 years, and we have 4 boys all in school here in DD2 schools. I have been volunteering in our schools extensively for the last 8 years. I have served on school improvement councils. I have served on PTAs, the District Safety Task Force, the District Parent Liaison Committee. For the past 2 years, I have had the honor of being the District PTA President. My extensive involvement has shown me that we do have excellent schools, but we also have some great opportunities for improvement. And I think I would bring a relevant and unique perspective to our board because of my involvement and my perspective as a parent. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, so the first question now goes to Mr. Chris Digby. And then everyone gets their opportunity, just as a reminder. What are your qualifications and/or experiences that you bring to the table, including your involvement in public schools prior to becoming a candidate for the school board?
Good evening. I kind of talked about some of this stuff in my introduction there. As I mentioned, I grew up here in Dorchester County. I attended Alston Middle School and graduated from Somerville High School. In 2010, I became a licensed attorney, and in the fall of 2010, I became a teacher at Oak Brook Middle School. And so I've taken some backwards routes in life. I taught at Oak Brook Middle School for 1 year. I was coaching multiple sports at Somerville High School. So the following year, an opening came up at Somerville High School, and the leadership there thought it was important to have their coaches in the building. And so I took a move over to Somerville High School, where I taught lots of different courses over the years. I taught lots of elective courses, and mostly in the social studies department. And I coached football over there and girls basketball as a full-time employee. Right now I serve as a real estate attorney. I say serve because that's the approach I take even in my profession. I've always felt a need to serve people, and I feel like meaningful service is important. And so the qualifications and experience that I have are spending 7-8 years in our schools on a full-time basis, as a volunteer for 6 years before that. And now as a real estate attorney, I've got some business experience and some background with some very important issues in our county that our county is dealing with that could have some value for the board that I think is very important moving forward. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, just a little bit about my background, as I'm a local attorney and business owner here in town, and I really, you'd be surprised how many lawsuits that our school district's involved in. There's a record for most lawsuits that a school board's been involved in, but we may be there. So a lot of times, a lot of board policies, I'm the policy chair for our school board. So I review all new policies. We've overhauled our policy book over the last 3 or 4 years, almost the entire policy book. So that's kind of the boring stuff of being a board member, but that's kind of Evan's department of a lot of other board members will say, what does this mean? And then I kind of have to translate from legalese to English. So that's kind of good qualifications and reading contracts that we get involved with. There's kind of a bad history getting involved with bad contracts. So just going forward and making sure that we don't get taken advantage of or get anything really bad. And really just qualifications before serving as a board member for the last 4 years is I was heavily involved volunteering within schools. I was pretty much the designated career day speaker for a lot of schools for their lawyer. I did a lot of personal finance and business classes within the school district that I was able to speak to, and really that's really the rewarding part of going into the schools, not as a board member, but as a member of the public, and seeing the kids and interacting with them, and you kind of remember, this is why I do this, and this is my motivation for doing it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I feel like my qualifications, I've stated a little early, but I would like to review. I have been a principal, I've been assistant principal, I've been a building level administrator, I've worked for the district as a hearing officer, so I know discipline cases. I worked at the State Department in a school of quality and control for schools. I know how the State Department operates. I know how to work with the business community. I was blessed in Berkeley County as a principal to have the first business partnership with a school in the county, and I think it was the second in the state. I'm very proactive. I love children. I work with curriculum. I've done a lot of teacher observations, coaching, and feedback. I have a consulting business where I've worked with teachers and done workshops for them. At the base of all of this, though, are our teachers, our wonderful teachers who we're losing to neighboring counties because we're not taking care of them. I think the biggest asset that we have in this district is our school system, and I can't understand why people don't want to invest in your biggest asset. We need to validate, appreciate, and celebrate all the people that are in public education. If I'm blessed enough to be on the board, I can promise you this. I will not tell a lie, and I will go to bat for children every day, and my goal will be to help every child reach their highest potential academically. Thank you.
Thank you. I think my biggest qualifications is that I raised 3 children that's very successful. I've taught, I was a counselor, I've worked compassionately in the community for a lot of years. Presently, I'm the executive director of the Community Resource Center. We have built partnerships throughout the community. We have fed thousands of children. We adopted about 200 children in which we give them everything they need. I think most importantly, in looking at someone, their qualifications, I think you have to look at the passion, the involvement. And I can honestly say here unequivocally that I am a compassionate builder. I have built coalitions with some of the major companies, all the municipalities, all the sheriff departments, and we have succeeded in doing some amazing work. Yes, we have. I've built 3 community centers. I've built 5 learning labs, and I'm here to say that I am ready and willing to work and bring this expertise to you. In fact, we just spent $500,000 in working in Dorchester County. Thank you.
Hey, so I think the biggest qualifications I have are I'm a father of 2 kids in this district. I am subject to the decisions that are made every day by the board and the school district, so I will experience firsthand what I'm asking other parents to go through. I think outside of that, in multiple jobs, I've always taken leadership roles. I've been promoted to management positions because I'm able to work with others. I've been on several boards here in the community. I've been directly involved with my child's education just recently at Austin Bailey. We're developing this week. We'll meet Thursday for the first time a Tiger Buddies program, where we'll meet with young males who need positive influence in their life. At Austin Middle School with my daughter's education, I know they've got an incentive program for a virtual store. I've collected some goods from the community to donate to them as well. In my job at work, I'm directly responsible for managing the profitability of my company. It's a $575 million company in the state of South Carolina. This is the biggest budget that Dorchester County has. I'll be able to look at a $30, $40 million budget and figure out where we can help bring some profitability back to this district, help work with our partners and other governing bodies to make sure we're spending our money responsibly. In those roles, altogether, I'll be able to work with other state legislatures as well to make sure that we are doing the best due diligence we can by our students and teachers. And I think lastly, my communications efforts with the teachers in the schools and other teachers being on the foundation, I know the value of teachers and students in our district, and the teachers are on the front lines every day. I'm super appreciative of them.
I have served as a kindergarten aide, and so I have seen firsthand the things that teachers see with their children who enter those doors, and also the things that are expected of them. I have been a volunteer in many capacities in our schools, and have physically been in our schools and seen the things that teachers are doing and that students are experiencing, and know how hard they are working and the things that they are lacking. As a business owner, I have seen firsthand the need for an experienced workforce and how important it is that our people graduating today need to have skills to enable them to get jobs. I have toured manufacturing facilities and attended career fairs to hear firsthand from businesses on what they need, what they are looking for, the skills that we need to be teaching our students so that they can get jobs. I have worked with and communicated with legislators and council members to educate them on the district's needs, and I am a parent of 4 very different children, and I understand that we need to tailor education to each child. Thank you.
Through my qualifications as an expert in higher education, and also through my military service, I bring a unique blend of experience and qualifications to serve our community. 7 years ago, I started the first dual-credit cybersecurity program with Dorchester District 2, and this program prepares our youth for in-demand careers in our community and or advanced standing when transitioning to college. And through that partnership, I was asked to serve on our district's foundation board, and I've been serving on the foundation board for almost 6 years, and in my second term as the chair of the foundation board. Through that partnership with the foundation board and me serving on the board, we've been able to foster relationships with our community and with the industry to fuel our district for our Career and Technology Education Center that was open last year. We were able to raise over $1 million to help fund the equipment for this initiative, and we've been very successful in the number of kids that have joined that program to ensure that when they graduate from high school, they have opportunities in our community for in-demand careers, earning a wage above poverty level. Thank you.
So I mentioned briefly in my introduction about my involvement, and I'll just speak a little more about that. 8 years ago, when my oldest children started kindergarten, I have twins, I started volunteering in their classroom and mentoring other students. And it kind of went crazy from there. I became involved in the PTA and worked my way up to be the PTA president. As PTA president of Flowertown Elementary, we earned a national award from the National PTA for family and community involvement. From there, I went on to become the district PTA president, and for the last 2 years, I have been working with all of our schools. I've worked with students, teachers, parents, school personnel, administrators, district personnel. I've built relationships, I've learned communication skills, and I've advocated for all of our children in this district. I believe that I have a unique perspective because I have been in our schools. I'm in touch with what's happening in our schools. I see what needs we have and what challenges our students and our educators are facing. And again, I have 4 children of my own, all attending school here, and so I am invested in our schools, and I am passionate about making them the best that they can be for all of our children.
I told you earlier that I have 30 years of teaching, and I've been on the board for 12 years. I am a retired educator, facilitator, elementary science presenter all over the state of South Carolina. I've also, excuse me, I've also been an adjunct professor at the College of Charleston under Dr. Fred Watts. I started the first science labs in Berkeley County. They allowed me to do that, and I started it with jars and straws, but the kids excelled with it. I've been Teacher of the Year. I've been on the executive board for the South Carolina Science Council. Was one of the, in the South Carolina Aquarium when it was planned, I was one of the master plan developers for that. I've been on the board of directors for the Kids Who Care program about the environment with Santee Cooper. I have been a leader and a trainer for Berkeley County Project Inquiry. I've been an NST, National Science Teacher Association key leader. I have been an adept teacher evaluator in the district. I've been awarded many local national awards. For example, I won the South Carolina State Energy Award. I've also won the National Science Teachers Association Award for Most Innovative Elementary Science Teacher. So I've won many, many local awards and grants based on what my children did, because that's what it was about. It was about my children and what they did. You can tell that I have a passion for education. I have a passion for children. I also have a grandchild that's in 3rd grade here, so I'm also vested with the fact that I care about what's happening with him. My own children graduated from Summerville High School. I am here because I care about children.
The next question will start off with Mr. Guthrie. What are your financial priorities for the school district? Reduction in class size, maintaining current programs, increasing school employee compensation, adequately funding our schools, etc.
So really right now at Dorchester 2, we're just getting by, to be honest with you, on a lot of our budget items. So I wish we could do all 4 of those things. But probably the biggest priority right now is just teacher pay. I think that's really the backbone of our district is, and I believe right now 85% of our budget goes to teacher pay. So it's really, if we can up that any way we can do that. But unfortunately, with the way our budget works, we're in the bottom 5 in funding in the state, but we're in the top 10 in performance. So we know how to make the best with the least, and we've been doing that for a number of years. But unfortunately, we can only get by with that so much before our numbers and our metrics start going down. So it's really up to us as a district to find a secure source of for funding. So not only can we pay our teachers more, which would be my priority, but have lower class sizes. And again, for other districts, this is not just a wish list. This is something they can do with their budgets. But for us, we have to get by with bare bones. Every single year, we have to beg and plead our state legislators, our county council members to make up budget shortfalls from a state funding level. And again, it's hard work each year to kind of make the most of what we do, but somehow we do it every year. We come forth with a superior product, and hopefully our budget situation improves, but we got to keep going. Thank you.
I think the track record speaks for itself. Dorchester 2 has the best school system in the state. They do more with less than anyone else. Hats off to the board, hats off to Mr. Pye, hats off to our wonderful teachers. And we're losing these folks every day. They spend more time with our kids than we do. The average American parent spends less than 20 minutes a day communicating with their child. Our teachers, our coaches, coaching supplements, teacher salaries. Let's don't forget our support staff people. We don't have those, we don't have a successful district. I think we need physical autonomy. Who can better prepare a budget than educators? And why should we have to go hat in hand to county council? We put undue pressure on those folks. They're not educators. Everybody's been to school, but everybody's not an educator. So what we need to do is take care of our people. take care of our students. Dedication is wonderful, folks, but it doesn't pay grocery bills. It doesn't send your kids to college. It doesn't take care of the dentist. Why wouldn't you take care of the biggest asset you have? We have great facilities. Yes, we need more. We need to continue growth in this district. But if we don't take care of the people that are turning the wheels, the teachers, coaches, principals, and these folks, we're not going to have these quality people around. Why do you come to DD2? You know that answer, and I know that answer too. School system. So people need to pay up. I would accept no salary for this position. It would go into a fund to fund at-risk students. Thank you.
I am not questioning the caliber of Dorchester District 2. I am not questioning that we in this community has a good school system. But I will say, in order to keep what we have to pay attention to our teachers. They are the backbone. They are the ones. Our schools are overcrowded. We need to work on solving that issue. But most importantly, we must start retaining our teachers, and to do that, the best ways to do that is get them involved in the process at the beginning. All of us are aware that our teachers, we need to retain our teachers. And the best way to do that is to get them involved early and often in the process. And of course, we are going to have to visit Act 388. That funding formula is obsolete and needs to be changed. That way, we can develop new formulas in which we can work with our teachers, give them what they deserve. But we have to look at all the total picture and say, yes, we want to go into the 21st century with 21st century people. Thank you.
So with all due respect, I don't think I'm going to rank those things. I think they're all equally important, and I would address them with the same sense of urgency. I think there's a funding formula in Columbia that needs to be addressed. A school board trustee doesn't really have that control to decide teachers' pay, but what it's going to take is somebody in the seat that's going to address those kinds of things with state legislature. You need somebody who's going to be able to work hand in hand with all these different governing bodies and make a collective decision. The job I'm in, I literally am responsible for the profitability of our company. Every decision I make is coming down to whether or not we are going to make money in that year or not. It takes somebody who's able to network and cross lines and have an open, positive dialogue with each representative and ask how we can collectively work together. I plan on partnering with these people. There is not a you answer to me, I answer to you situation. Every dialogue is going to be, here is what I'm willing to do, what can you do to help us? This has to be a partnership, 50-50. We need that same collective intake from the parents as well. I, as a father, understand what the responsibility of the teacher is when my child is with them. I want teachers to know that while my child is in their care, I support them 100%, and I will reinforce what they do when they're home with me. That's the mindset I believe a board trustee needs to approach each one of those topics with. So collectively, I say that I approach every one of them with the same sense of urgency, and yeah, I think the funding formula in Columbia really needs to be addressed.
I agree. All the items you mentioned are so important, but I would say my financial priority is addressing the base student costs, because the funding formula is inadequate. This district does so much with so little. We have proven that even though we are at the bottom in funding, we are at the top in results, and I feel like we are penalized for that when our teachers should be getting more because they are doing what is asked of them and beyond. And so we need to work with our state legislators because they are the ones who have authority over this issue, and we need parents involved, and we need PTAs involved, and we need teachers involved, and we need just taxpayers, even if you don't have children in school, because this is an issue that impacts all of us. If we cannot keep quality teachers, then our education system goes down, then our property values go down, then we all lose. So it is vital that we change the funding formula, and that's where my focus will be.
Our teachers are the most valuable assets and resources we have in our community for our school district. They go above and beyond the call of duty every day to ensure that our kids receive the education that they receive every day. And they do this with limited resources and less pay than our neighboring districts. When we look at the funding formula and the funding model, where we have a neighboring school district receiving almost double the amount that we receive in Dorchester District 2, we have to go to Columbia and talk to state legislators. I have experience working with our state legislators, working on issues in higher education, and I can turn that dial very quickly to talk about K through 12. At the state level, and prior to COVID, I was going to Capitol Hill working with our federal level policymakers, and I can have those conversations too with them to ensure that a target is placed on our community, not from a bad standpoint, but from a good standpoint, to ensure that they understand the funding that we receive and why we need more to ensure that our district can provide more to our kids and provide more to our teachers. When we look at overcrowding in our classrooms, I believe that this is going to be right-sized a little bit by the virtual academy. We've started the virtual academy. That's here to stay. There are going to be parents that want to keep their kids in that virtual environment. And from that virtual academy, we will probably receive students that are attending virtual academies throughout the state of South Carolina, which will also provide more funding for our school district. Thank you.
The people who work in this district are our absolute greatest asset. Keeping them, supporting them, showing them how much we value is critical. We have a state funding method for education that has not been updated in over 40 years. We have a base student cost that has not been fully funded since 2007, 2008. These are great problems that absolutely 100% need to be addressed. At a local level, what can we do? As a school board, there's a lot. We can advocate for change. We can build relationships with our local community leaders as well as our state leaders. We've got to work together. We've got to collaborate. We've got to involve our entire community in solving this problem. We need parents behind us. We need business leaders behind us. And we need to make it known that this change is important. I agree, our schools are the backbone of this community. They are so important. We've got to make sure we retain our amazing teachers by showing them how much we value them. Teacher turnover negatively affects student achievement. Overcrowded classrooms negatively affects student achievement. These are all priorities, and it all begins with working with our funding methods at the state level.
I don't want to be redundant and repeat a lot of the things that people have already said about the funding, but I want you to understand that growth, for one thing, growth is here. It's not slowing down. As a matter of fact, there's 7 new subdivisions to go up in the Knightsville area very soon, so you know how many kids that's going to be. So we need new schools. I advocate that we put back in the, implement the impact fees. That way your taxes don't go up, but each homeowner has to pay an impact fee. Therefore, that money is put towards new schools. Right now, our district is wonderful. Why? Because our local school business partners, our grant writers, our big industries, a lot of y'all are saying you need to get involved with them. We are involved with them, and they're fantastic, and we appreciate all that they do, because they are the ones that have kept us strong and have not let us fall behind, because we've not let our children fall behind, even though we didn't have enough funding to do that. We've given them that academic opportunity that they can do. Another one of our problems is that one of our assets is that DD2 has a wonderful reputation. People want to move here, like some of you have said. They want to move here, and so there's so many people wanting to come. We did do an impact fee, and we had $2,500 per home. We finally settled that after 10 years, but we need more because we need more schools. We're building right now a new school at Beach Hill Elementary School. Behind Beach Hill, it'll be a junior high school, but we have the property already for an elementary school.
Thank you. Excuse me. Original question asked us to rank priorities, or prioritize, I should say, the things that we got going on here. And so I think the overarching theme here is base student cost. I think most of what we're talking about falls under that broad category. If we can improve that, we can improve a lot of other things. In 2015, I was approached by a neighboring district to take a lateral move in the classroom and a demotion in my coaching responsibilities. Less work, $11,000 a year more. Those are just true numbers. I chose to stay for another year at Somerville High School because it was Somerville High School. I mean, this is where I grew up. This is where I've always been, and my heart's always been with these schools and in Dorchester County. I chose to stay for that year, and then because of mounting student debt and other things from law school and lawyer bills on a teacher's salary, I married a teacher, and quite frankly, I had to get out of teaching because the pay wasn't good enough for us to meet the goals that we had as a family. I was a hardworking, smart, dedicated, compassionate teacher that this district lost because we couldn't afford to pay a salary that could allow me to meet my family's financial goals. Nobody's going to work harder to help teachers get the recognition they need than this guy right here.
The next question starts with Mr. Brooks Moore. Do you believe DD2 should continue the current hybrid plan as it is, or should there be adjustments to get 5 days face-to-face sooner? Why or why not? If you believe the plan should be changed, what changes do you suggest?
Thank you. I think that DD2 should be commended. Their policy for the safety, welfare, and health of every teacher and member of the school family has been predicated on science and not politicians. We've lost 220,000 people in this country, and contrary to what a lot of people believe, it's not a hoax. We cannot play Russian roulette with children. We cannot put our kids in harm's way. Our teachers. I commend the board. I commend Mr. Pye. I commend the teachers and the students and the parents. The parents are not hearing what they want to hear. They're hearing what they need to know. Be safe. Listen to science. We will get back. There's no one that wants to get our kids back in school more than teachers. As a retired principal and teacher, I know the value of direct instruction. But I also know the value of the health, safety, and welfare of all those that provide that direct instruction. So kudos to the board, to Mr. Pye, and all of you. You have taken a very, very challenging, tough problem, and you've made the right decisions based on health and what's best for teachers and students and the community. Thank you.
I'm of the belief that when we look at DD2 in all the areas here in the state and in the United States, that this is a different paradigm that we're not trained for. I commend DD2 for what they have done. However, I do believe in parent choice. When I say parent choice, I believe that we should have offered the 3 options available. That is, virtual, in school, as well as pods. I believe that we're area that we really needed to work on and should have worked on was developing pods throughout the community to work with the children and the parents that doesn't have the wherewithal to teach their child. These are areas that we are into. These are new areas. But I think overall, we're working as a community. And there's one important factor that we should always remember. that let the scientists, let the medical profession take the lead. They should take the lead, and we should follow. I believe this process has become too politicalized. As a result, we have this drama. But I do believe, and I very strongly believe, it's the parents' choice. They are the taxpayers.
So as a father of 2 daughters in this district, I advocate for 5 days face-to-face. That's not a comment I make lightly. I understand there's going to be a responsible decision behind it. I think we need to collectively look at what it will take to get there. I think we have to open the virtual platform back up and allow parents who aren't quite yet comfortable to get into that platform, and then find a way to integrate the two and have kids go 5 days and have the other families go virtual. There's a lot of people out there like myself who have to juggle their careers and trying to monitor their families, and it's not an easy thing to do when it's this hybrid thing. Today alone, my wife was at a hospital taking care of her patients, and I was having to take several conference calls and take breaks to take my daughter to school for 3 hours. Last numbers I heard were there were 10 students that were sick in the district, 24 educators. That's a much less number than something as simple as strep throat or the flu. That being said, I understand the severity of it. I also had COVID on Father's Day, and I was out for 2 weeks, so I understand what it could do to you. But we have to be responsible about it. We have to come up with a concise plan, attack it with confidence, and make sure that we're responsible as we can be. Again, it's a partnership with our families. I understand as a father what I'm sending my child back to, and I understand that the teachers that are going to be there are going to act as responsibly as possible, and I'll do the same to make sure I manage my children as responsibly as possible away from this virus. We have to take into consideration that by keeping them home, there's their education at risk, some kids' mental well-beings, some kids' nutrition. There's a lot more than just the virus that we should be considering that affects children every day that we don't consider in our conversation.
I believe the district's plan was was very well thought out and made based on data. And that is how we are the district we are, because we make careful consideration of all the information available. And I think our plan provided that it did provide options for parents to either be virtual or hybrid. I think that we do have to be flexible, and as new information comes in, make adjustments. And the district is willing to do that. However, it is not something you can do on a dime. Just to say, okay, let whoever wants to go face-to-face go. Well, first of all, it's not just the virus we have to think about. We have to think about the teachers who are exposed, and then what's going to happen if they have to be quarantined. So then all the children who are in their class, well, they have to go to another class. So then those class numbers are bigger. And so it is not just as simple as going, just changing to face-to-face. I want to be face-to-face 5 days, every child in their classroom. And I want to work towards that as soon as it is safely possible.
I appreciate the hard work our district did to this point to get our kids back in the format that they're in right now. However, I believe in parent choice. I feel that parents should have options, and when we look at some of our neighboring districts and districts across the state, they have multiple models. So I'm a firm believer of 5 days face-to-face, a virtual option and a hybrid option. And there are many districts that are offering the instruction in this format. Having 2 kids myself, I know firsthand what it's like to have a second grader at home while he's trying to learn via a laptop. So that can be challenging from a parent standpoint while you're trying to juggle a full-time job and a career at the same time. In addition, I believe that we have to have a mitigation plan, and this plan will let us know when we need to shift left or right based on a positive COVID case in the classroom with the student and or a teacher. So that mitigation plan would drive and direct how we're going to operate in the event that happens. It will also determine if kids need to be tested, if the entire class needs to be tested, the entire school needs to be tested. And there are a lot of models that are put together for these plans that I've utilized in my role in the Army National Guard. So I feel firm believer, parent choice. Thank you.
I want our children and our teachers to be safe. The current hybrid plan is not working for all our children. I am worried that our children are falling behind. As of now, no one has been able to quantify the long-term results that this will have on our children. And what really concerns me is that we aren't talking about this. I've been watching the board meetings, and I've listened to the plan that our district has, and I think that the fact that we're not looking ahead and planning for what's going to happen about all the hundreds of hours of instruction and school time that our children have missed. Children on this hybrid plan have not been in school full-time since March. And I think we need to acknowledge that, we need to address it, and we need to make a plan for how we're going to make sure those children are not behind.
First, let me say that Team Dorchester, Mr. Pye, and the whole board, everybody has worked diligently to come up with plans, and we have to give them credit for that. They've worked hard for it. The hybrid plan is just putting such a hardship on working parents. I have had so many emails and calls about parents, they've lost their job, or they can't get off it to go take a child to school or whatever. They're missing work. Our teachers are working overtime and doing double the work to try to accommodate all the different programs that are going on. And they're not to blame. Don't blame the teachers. And I've always advocated and stood up for teachers because I was one for 30 years. Actually, no one's to blame. I mean, we can't blame anyone for this pandemic, for what's going on. What I have advocated for is from the beginning is that we put our kids back in school for 5 days face-to-face. And I have a grandchild there too, so I'm also, worried about him and what could happen. For the majority of our students, like Ashley said, the e-learning is just not working. You cannot teach a child, an elementary child, how to read or write on a computer. I don't care who you are, what kind of program you have, you can't do it. I've been there too long. Actually, like she said, we've been out of school for 7 months. Our kids going a half a day right now are only getting a half of a year education. Our kids are going to continuously fall behind. The people that I have talked to say that their kids that were A and B students are now D and F students. Is that fair? No. Give them the opportunity to go full-time. If you want to go virtual, that's great, and we appreciate that. Go virtual and stay home. But we need to get our kids back in school now.
Good evening. Difficult topic here, no doubt about it. This is new territory for everybody sitting up here and everybody watching at home and everybody involved in any form of life right now. Not just education, your job, everybody's life is different. If I had a good answer for how to solve this problem, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be filthy rich sitting on a yacht in the Caribbean somewhere. The fact of the matter is we have to make the decision weighing the risks that are involved on either side of that decision. The risks involved in putting our students and our teachers in danger are present. There are disagreements as to the severity and the degree of that risk. And what we have to do as a district is make a determination as to whether or not the original plan that was approved by the board in the summertime to start and to progress back to 5-day face-to-face, if those data markers are the ones we need to be using, we need to stick with the plan. If those data markers are not adjusting the way we expected them to based on the number of cases and based on the amount of information that we have, we need to consider making a change. All of us are in favor of 5-day face-to-face education as being the best possible scenario for kids, not at the risk of other people's lives, and I don't think anybody would agree with that either. I think everybody agrees on that. What we have to do is come up with a solution that allows parents to have choices, but allows our teachers and our administrators a time to plan accordingly to make sure it's the safest possible environment for when we do finally return to that face-to-face education.
All right. This has probably been the toughest decision that we've had as a board member in my 4 years just going through this. I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I've had, how many hundreds of emails that we've read from parents, phone calls about horror stories about their children falling behind, not able to learn e-learning. even withdrawing from the school district. And that's the most painful one, that we can't provide a service that meets their needs. So just hearing those stories are heartbreaking. My personal opinion, I would love to return to 5-day face-to-face as soon as possible, but that's just my personal opinion. If there's any way we can possibly do it, we need to do it. But as a school board member, it's really serious that we're entrusted with the safety of 26,000 students in this district. And that's just something that we take it very seriously as school board members. So it's something that we have to weigh all sides of the issue. And right now, the status of the hybrid model is there's three biggest things. Our back to school plan is based on a medium, low, high risk. Right now we're at medium. I can't predict what they'll be, but it's going to be a couple of weeks. That's just my honest opinion before it can get low. And if it gets low, let's get the students back in. Other part is logistics. How if we can get 30 students in a small classroom, is that safe? How are we going to get past the state restrictions on school buses? We still have to figure that out. Food service. The other part is 63 of 63 administrators say we can't do that, or they don't approve of it. So we got to get them on board as well. Thank you.
Second question.
No one wants to get our kids back in school more than I do. As a principal, I know the value of direct instruction. Oh, I'm sorry.
I started with you, Mr. Moore. That was my fault.
Okay, that's all
I
right.
took my glasses off and. All right, so the next question begins with Mr. Smith. What recruitment strategies can DD2 use to appeal to high-quality teachers over our neighboring districts, and what can be done to retain the ones we already have?
Can you repeat it, please, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir.
Louder, please.
What recruitment strategies can DD2 use to appeal to high-quality teachers over our neighboring districts, and what can be done to retain the ones we already have?
Are you talking about retaining the teachers?
And attracting and recruiting new high-quality teachers as well.
Okay. I think what we need to do is just, to do what Dorchester District 2 has been doing now. I think we can work through all of that. We need to build the culture. We need to continue building the culture that we have here in Dorchester District 2 and work from that. Okay. Oh. I'm sorry. I think we have to build a culture and keep building that culture that we have here in Dorchester District 2 in order for us to maintain what we have. Thank you.
So for me, I think the biggest thing, we all know teachers don't get into teaching to make a ton of money. Granted, they shouldn't be paid such a low wage, but we all know nobody does it to get rich. I think what we should do is foster a community around them that incentivizes teachers throughout the year. Maybe it's an attendance metric or their grade, how they're doing in their class, an evaluation style metric. I think we also, teacher salaries are going to have to be addressed at a state level. I think that's where we work with legislators to work hard on that. In the meantime, I've noticed from my work and my personal experiences, the more positive you make somebody's environment, the more productive they can be. If you poll a lot of people, generally you'll find that salaries can be sacrificed for a happier, positive work environment. So if we can get behind teachers and we can support them and put them in a position where they're happy to come to work, we can find that they'll work with us on the pay, and we may retain them that way. Now, that takes support. I've had teachers tell me that twice a week they're going home and crying, and if they don't, that's not teaching. Well, that's a shame when you hear somebody talk about their job. If I went home crying for my job, I'd find something else. We can't allow teachers to continue to go in the classrooms and feel defeated and feel overcome and stressed and pressured. So we need to partner with them and find out what their needs truly are. I don't think anybody's really listening to what they need from us and the support they need from administration. So we need to secure that, approach them, find out what their needs are, and again, overlooking the budget, responsibly find a way to support them, whether it's an incentivification program or, gift cards. You know, allow administrators to pass out gift cards to incentivize them, whoever does it best. Thanks.
I think the best place to start would be to increase their pay, but as has been mentioned, that is not why so many teachers teach. But that is inadequate what they receive. So we need to focus on increasing their pay, but they need to have other benefits and perks. They need to have a safe and secure work environment. They need to feel supported and listened to. They need to have open door communication with their administrators and feel that they can go to them and talk about what's working, what's not working, and how that can be improved. We need to continue to work with our PTAs and Education Foundation and business partners to find ways to provide incentives for teachers. I know something as simple as a duty-free lunch is, wow, right now, in normal days, that is just, would be a wonderful thing. And so offering things like that so that they have a good work environment and increasing their pay. And providing professional training for either future leadership roles or how to be the best teacher they can be for our students.
Looking for ways to enhance the teacher voice and participation in decision-making will certainly build the pipeline for teachers on the recruitment and retention side. On recruitment, I would like to start with the teacher cadet programs that we currently have in our county and also throughout our region and the state. And we can lean on these teacher cadet programs to fuel and foster individuals who are interested in being teachers in our community for Dorchester District 2. In addition, we have a program called the Call Me Mr. program that's offered throughout the state of South Carolina. We need to recruit individuals from the Call Me Mr. program so that those teachers will come back to DD2. And I want to establish a recruiting team of teachers to go out with our administrators when we recruit teachers annually. On the retention, I want to partner with our local colleges and universities across the state to foster opportunities for training, professional development, and also on their master's degree, that they can receive some type of scholarship or discount, and this can be fostered throughout our state for teachers in Dorchester District 2. And lastly, I want to propose a salary study that we put our heart and mind to. And we propose this salary study, we complete the study, and we put action items in place to ensure that we're not just going to look at the study, but we're going to take action with the study. Thank you.
As we've said earlier this evening, as I've said, I believe our teachers are our greatest asset, and keeping them is critical, as well as recruiting new teachers. I have lots of teachers who are friends, and I have a great respect for them. I am in awe of what they do, even in normal times. Right now, our teachers are working so hard, and what they are doing is just amazing. I don't know where our students would be without them. That being said, I think that there are lots of things that we can do to support them as we are working on advocating for increased pay. Our teachers need a voice. I think when our leadership is making decisions that affect them and their students and what's happening in their classrooms, we need input from them. They need avenues to give honest feedback. I also think it's very important that we have increased family and parent involvement. I think having this in all our schools will help support our teachers. We do a great job of this often in elementary, but continuing that in middle and high school is also critical. I think our teachers need support with discipline. I think it'd be a great idea to look at our the way we have our discipline policies and make sure it's effective and we're supporting our teachers. And I also think that we need to look at our exit surveys when teachers are leaving. We need to know why they're leaving.
For those who don't know, on a teacher certificate, there are different levels of how you teach. Highly qualified means that you're at the top of your game. DD2 hires highly qualified teachers. That's what we hire. Y'all have discussed pay enough. We know that that's a must. I marched for those teachers last May in Columbia as a teacher and said, yes, we need more money for them. I've advocated for that for 35 years. I mean, I was one of them that got that low salary. You don't even want to know what my first paycheck looked like. But anyway, In Dorchester, too, we provide all the materials that they can possibly get. Yes, the state gives them $250 to buy supplies with, but we give them materials. We supply everything we can. We have teams that go out to different states and right here in the Low Country to recruit teachers. What are we looking for? Highly qualified teachers that will do the job and that will stay with us. Dorchester, too, allows teachers to have a voice. They allow them to have a voice. They have liaison groups. It's crucial that teachers have a voice. And they don't have to worry about intimidation or repercussions from saying what they need to say or what they need to say. They need to be able to speak freely. Providing the right staff development that's relative is what they need, because different teachers specialize in different things. Like I was always weak in writing, but I was strong in science. We all have weaknesses, we all have strengths, and having those staff developments will help us in all areas, because I was in elementary. Helping us to pay for graduation courses. I got through several of my degrees, but with help from the district paying part of my salary. Positive leadership will support teacher morale also.
Recruitment has been fairly successful here in Dorchester, too. I think that's evident by the quality of teacher that we have in our classrooms all over the district. I think we have some of the best. I've worked alongside them. I've watched them from a distance to try to learn from them. Some of the things I learned were good, and some of the things I learned were things not to do. But over the course of my teaching career, I saw amazing teachers in our classrooms. And so I think recruitment is something we do a fairly good job of. We have teachers from different parts of the country joining us every year. And so we take good care of them, and we try to bring them in. And I think we talked about school culture. One of my opponents up here talked about school culture. I think that's really huge. I think it's huge. I think it can go a long way for teacher retention. And we're talking about retention. Obviously, pay is an issue that we're going to talk about. But teachers get these tasks assigned to them on a regular basis, and it happens, and that list mounts over time. The good, hard-working teachers, it's the old 80-20 rule. You know, everybody's aware of it, and it happens everywhere. It happens in business. I see it from the firm I work for is wonderful, and we do a great job, making sure we have a good, strong work culture. And I think some of those same things could be done at the teacher level. Positive leadership is a very important part of that. Giving teachers a voice is a very important part of that. Class sizes can have an impact on that. Let's reduce the tasks that teachers have to do that aren't involved in why they're there, and that's building relationships with kids. Teachers want to build relationships with kids, take some of the tasks off their plate so they can do what they're there to do.
All right, so teacher retention. You got to ask yourself, why would a teacher teach in DD2 when they can make $10,000 more in a neighboring district? And it's the culture of family and excellence and leadership in our school district. And the teachers that do leave, they can tell you that it may be lacking in other school districts. The money they took wasn't worth it. We obviously want to pay our teachers as much as possible, but again, there's things of culture and family that are in our school district that are more than the money. And then really, it's the leadership and development and the HR department of our school district is probably the best in the state as far as recruiting leaders and teachers that are standouts and be able to get them to teach here. And it's really evident is anytime there's a position, administrative position to fill, we can find the perfect candidate within the district. And every single time someone leaves for whatever reason, there's always 3 or 4 candidates within the district that can take their place and do it at the same level or even higher level. And that's something I've seen time and time again. And that's, again, just the culture of excellence and leadership within our district. And just little things like giving teachers a sick bank where they can donate sick days to other teachers, having them have a break to use the bathroom, to eat lunch. Those are just free things that don't cost anything. So we got to listen to them. What can we do for free to increase their teacher experience? And that's something that we as board members have in our power to do. So that's something we're always listening for. Thank you.
Teachers are contracted for 190 days. They get no paid holidays. No paid holidays. They have to live for 12 months. Teachers need to first become more proactive. We have teachers in our district that let other teachers carry the ball for them. They need to load the buses up and head to Columbia because the legislators in Columbia understand one thing: votes, and teachers vote, and teachers pay taxes. We need to build a teacher complex apartment complex, subsidize the rent for a teacher. A first-year teacher is paying anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 rent. Everything is predicated on physical autonomy. We need to bring a master's program in. If you commit to 5 years of staying in this school district, your loan is forgiven. We need to validate and appreciate and celebrate our teachers. The business community gives military discounts. How about a teacher discount? We also need to make sure that we, as parents and educators, let our teachers know how much we appreciate them. And I'm not just talking about teachers here, I'm talking about coaches too. We have the lowest coaching supplement of any district in the area. Coaches make a difference every day in the lives of these kids. I had a coach that turned my life around. My father worked all the time. We love our teachers, we love our district. Let's take care of our biggest asset.
The next question starts with Mr. Ropley. What do you consider to be the biggest obstacle we face in DD2, and how do you plan to address these challenges?
The biggest obstacle is, I believe, student-teacher advocacy. Something that I value more importantly than some other things are just partnership. I understand what it takes to partner as a parent of 2 girls and teachers who are with them the majority of the day. I understand I need to go with that approach of saying, what do you need from us? What can we do as parents to make your experience maximized? In the classroom setting, there's so many different variables they deal with. They have different levels of students. Some children require more one-on-one than others. I would make sure that the teachers understood that we supported them in whatever they needed. I also want to do that at the administrator level. I know there's a lot of children in our community that lack nutrition. There's a lot of kids in our, I've heard a story from a principal the other day that she visited a home that didn't have a front door and they were sleeping in sleeping bags. These are things that go undetected every day, and I don't really think the community thinks of that as a whole. I think once we send our kids to school, we trust that they're in a great environment, that they're receiving this stellar education, which for the most part is true, but we have to acknowledge there's a lot in our community that's not being addressed, and I just think that those things go under the radar, and unfortunately, they make a bigger impact than we give them credit for. When children are dealing with stuff at home and their mental well-being is affected, it impacts the classroom. If we have a child that's problematic in the classroom, that impacts my child's education as well. So I can't just say, well, that's that kid's issue, he has to worry about it. I have to worry about it as well because now my child's impacted. So I really think we need to drill down to make sure the classrooms are effective as possible, and that we are doing our part as parents, community, and board members to make sure we address these needs from the teachers and what we can do to support that.
I think we do fairly well academically with all our students, but I know that a parent's involvement can be directly correlated to a student's success. And I think to increase the likelihood that every one of our students succeed to their ability, that we need to work on parent engagement. I think that we have some parent engagement centers around our district, and they provide resources for families. You can come in and read to your children. They have books. It's a wonderful opportunity for parents, but there are a lot of parents who don't know about it, and I think we need to go out into the community, and I know PTAs and schools have so much on their plates, and but I think in this new world of technology that we have to find creative ways to meet our families, and that we need to find ways to go to the families and let them, educate them on what opportunities we have, what experiences we have that they can use to help their child. I think that we would all be risen by shrinking that gap. Thank you.
The biggest obstacle we have to overcome is the achievement gap. And with urgency and patience, we can focus on the achievement gap, and this starts with early intervention at K through third grade. And when you start early, this is going to be fostered for these kids all the way through 12th grade. The achievement gap is an area of opportunity for us as a district, as a county, as a state, and as the United States of America. We need to focus on socioeconomic statuses and do a deep dive into those achievement gaps so we can help the youth out. And this starts working with our parents. There are programs that are in place already across the state where there's parental involvement, and when you have parental involvement with your youth, that's going to fuel the opportunities for our youth to ensure that this achievement gap is narrowed. And this achievement gap also extends into the workforce. Our industry and our community, they're looking for people that can read and write and focus on arithmetic. So that achievement gap, we've heard from industry that they're not satisfied with the output that we have in our community, and we need to focus on that beginning early on in K through third grade and to develop programs that are going to bridge the gaps and bring our youth and parents together to foster better outcomes. Thank you.
I believe the greatest obstacle that we face is funding, which is an issue that we have already discussed tonight. The reason I think it's funding is because this directly affects our teacher retention. We've all already said we don't pay our teachers enough, something that needs to happen. It causes overcrowded classrooms, another issue that negatively affects our students and their achievement. Lack of funding also affects our being able to provide the best resources and greatest technology for our students. I think that as a PTA leader and parent leader, I was very involved in helping to educate our community, our parents, and our families about our funding problem, and I think that is something that as a board member I would continue to do. I think, as we have said, it's a complex problem that's going to need lots of collaboration, communication, and relationship building at a local level with our community leaders here and also at a state level. But I do think by addressing the funding issue, we will be able to solve many of these problems and other issues that we are facing. And I think that can best be done with relationship building, collaboration, and communication.
Well, I'm not going to beat a horse to death here. We've discussed funding, we've discussed growth, we've discussed a lot of these topics already. I would like to discuss one of them that, in physical autonomy, we have no control of that. That has to be decided by our legislative delegation. So just put, we don't get blamed for that or credit for it, either one. As far as industry, they have said that we're weak in a lot of things. Soft skills. Soft skills are something that they're saying that kids can carry on a conversation. They're so used to doing this that they're not used to carrying on a conversation. So we have put that class into the high schools to teach that. And it's even starting earlier than high school, but we're trying to get them ready for that workforce. One of the things I'd like to mention that was something that we always dealt with when I was teaching was discipline. Discipline and bullying has gotten really out of hand. And I don't know if you know it or not, but we have too many suicides in DD2. A lot of times that's not announced and you don't know that. But we've put in the motto, if you see it, say it. But for every suicide, there's 100 attempted suicides. We need to be able to get our counselors to address that more. We need to make people more aware of it. We have a wonderful safety task force that has been created, and they have researched and done things to make things safer in our district. We've got all new locks on all the schools. We've got everything you can imagine, cameras. We have the dogs that come in and sniff for drugs. We have all of these different things. But suicide and bullying is something that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed seriously.
Biggest obstacle in our district, to answer that question, I think depends on the perspective you're using when you're considering it. From a big picture perspective, district-wide, the most obvious obstacle we're facing right now is COVID and how we're going to respond to that. We've already had that conversation here. The diverse needs of our community is difficult to have a one-size-fits-all answer for. So it's a difficult thing that we need to overcome. From a community level, I think growth is a major obstacle that we need to address. We need to make sure, the funding models and all the different things that we've talked about have a big impact on the entire district. And I think one area where teachers can agree is that smaller class sizes are more manageable. And once we already have the class sizes that we have now, the future growth that our community is facing is going to make things even more difficult. So we need to make sure we have plans to address future growth and take care of that. That's a big obstacle. From my classroom experience, I think the biggest obstacle I faced as a teacher, and I wasn't necessarily prepared for this because I didn't go to college to become a teacher, but the stark difference in reading ability between students in my classes that should have been on similar levels. It was difficult to come up with creative solutions for assessments when I realized that some of the grades that I was giving were really based on how well a student could read versus whether they knew the content. So I think addressing reading level at a young age, continuing to, I know we are trying to, we got to continue to do a better job with that.
Okay. So the biggest obstacle really is just besides the budget, which has been addressed. We always need more money. The achievement gap, paying teachers is the unknown. So we don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 years. If it's any prediction how 2020 was, it's going to be very turbulent, very unpredictable. And over the last 4 years, 4 years ago, they asked the same question. We didn't know 2.5 years later there was going to be the Parkland shooting, school violence. But we had leadership that responded. We had a school safety committee formed. We upgraded safety in our schools with help from the Dorchester 2 Foundation to raise funding for that. So we've really upgraded some weak areas in our schools. We have the threat assessment policy, which was the first in the state that I helped write to use our school therapists to identify threats. That's really how we responded. Right before COVID hit, we went to one-on-one technology. So that's something that we kind of anticipated the need for that. So when COVID hit, each student had a laptop. They were prepared, and it's really just anticipating being ready, having the leadership to respond to whatever happens in the next 4 years, because it's probably going to be a wild ride, and we need leadership and school board members that can problem solve and make sure that we're ready to whatever faces us. Thank you.
We talk about the obstacles that the school district has. We have a lot of obstacles, but I think the biggest thing that people take for granted is the school system. And it's time for the business community, real estate agents, contractors, business people in this community to start paying up. And it's all predicated on physical autonomy. We talk about all these wonderful things we want to do. We have to have physical autonomy. That's, to me, one of the big obstacles. Yes, we need to look at-risk students, but we can't do these programs. We can't do anything unless we have the funds. The other obstacle we have as a community is parents need to get proactive. They need to go to Columbia. For every teacher that's in Columbia, you need a parent up there beside them. Folks, we are killing the biggest asset this community has because we're losing our teachers, because we're not compensating them. We can't compensate them because we don't have the funds. Why don't we have the funds? We don't have the funds because we don't have physical autonomy. And nobody has the guts to go to Columbia and say, hey, enough's enough. When you have a governor in this state that gives $34 million to private segregation academies and we can't give our teachers a raise, we got a problem. Let's go to Columbia, stand up for our teachers as parents, administrators, and I'm going to be on the first bus that heads to Columbia. I guarantee you I'll be there yelling and screaming. Thank you.
I'm going to list several things. We have overcrowding schools. 10 of the 23 schools in Dorchester District 2 is overcrowded. We need to work on decreasing the class size. We need a fatherless mentoring program. All this requires money. And if we look back, I believe in 2006, with Act 229, when that was passed, it was passed locally with impact fees that we never, ever touched or got involved with from the government, county government. We need to revisit that and get this monies to work with what we need. As far as retaining teachers, we need to go ahead and get this money. All the changes is needed. I'm going to say this, and he was talking about going to Columbia, but we can do this locally and work these problems out with the money and not depend on Columbia or big government to come down. And we need to revisit Act 229. That I believe the courts has already ruled on that, and we can start getting the monies and the impact fees. It's time. It's time. Thank you.
This question will start with Ms. Tupper. What is your 5- and 10-year plan to improve the infrastructure of our district and work with local councils to ensure adequate facilities to meet the area population growth and expansion?
My 5 and 10 to 10-year plan on dealing with growth and infrastructure. Well, I think basically we need to work together with town and county councils to know the impact that communities that are asking for permits, that those are going to have. We need to have input into that. We need to know, request from them that they should provide some land so that we have a place to build schools, because they are going to impact our community with roads and everything. But we have done a facility study to look at our buildings and grounds and see what schools need, and rated those, and have a plan to work on those with the highest priority, with safety being a major concern. We need to accommodate for growth, see what areas that are growing and where people are going to come and what kind of schools we will need for those, be involved in the planning process, in the permitting process, so that we know what is coming, evaluate our facilities that we currently have to make sure they are still going to be able to support those numbers. That's all I can think of. Good timing.
Part of my platform has been discussing a 3 to 5 year strategic plan, which also can bleed right into the 5 to 10 year plan as asked in the question. And this begins with developing a partnership with town council, county council, and economic development. When we work with economic development, they're going to drive industry into our community. And by driving industry into our community, we know that that's going to bring people. They're going to want to live in Dorchester District 2. And with them wanting to live in Dorchester District 2, we can plan that growth that we're going to have by working with all entities. And part of this plan will also include the facilities that we need. We know that Walmart announced a few months ago that they're coming to Dorchester County, and when that announcement was made, I immediately contacted our district and I said, are we at the table to talk about partnerships? Partnerships on work-based learning for our kids, and also partnerships for our teachers for summer programs. So building this plan begins with a SWOT analysis, looking at our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, including teachers in this plan, support staff in this plan, administrators, so that everyone's at the table to bolster our district and to bolster our community to support the growth. Thank you.
I think that when we consider our 5 and 10 year plan, the first thing we need to look at are our relationships with our community, county council leaders, our community leaders, our state leaders. We cannot make 5 and 10 year, we cannot make long-term plans in a vacuum. We've got to make sure that we are collaborating and working with our local leaders. And building those relationships will be a priority for me. When we're considering this plan, I think we need to put all options on the table. We know that we are going to have continued growth, and so we need to prepare for that growth. We need to be transparent about what our needs will be, and we need to make sure that we communicate those needs to our local leadership, because as I said, this is not a problem. These are not problems, this growth, that we can solve on our own. I think, again, we need to put every possible option on the table. We need to look at things such as consolidation. We need to consider fiscal autonomy. We need to take all these things into account in order to come up with a successful 5-year plan and 10-year plan, and we need to make sure that we are very transparent about that with everyone involved. Thank you.
Back what I said earlier about implementing the impact fees, that's what we have to do. And like I said, we weren't the ones that stopped it. It's the realtors that really were behind that. We feel like the people are willing to put forth that money when they build a house, and that money has to go, impact fee money has to go just for building new homes, building new schools. And of course, that's what we're going to need. Back before I got on the board, County Council agreed to send us a list and send us the information if there was a new subdivision or a new building or something that affected the school district. They were supposed to send us that information. I've been on the board for 12 years and I've never seen it. They're supposed to, because we would say, no, we can't accommodate that, or we don't have enough room. I've never seen it. I'm not saying they haven't sent it. I'm just telling you I've never seen one. That needs to be reinforced and get them to do that. What have we done? We built 5 schools since I've been on the board. We've got career and technology programs of anything you can name: culinary, arts, engineering, agriculture, biomedical. We built that brand new advanced manufacturing center that we went with Boeing's and Volvo and Mercedes, and they came in and they helped us design that building, knowing what kind of equipment we needed, because every child will not go to college, and some of these children can walk right out of the walk right out of high school and go to work in those industries. We have a new performing arts with 1,000 people. What will we do in the future? Like I said, all of these things will build on them, but we've got so many programs now that we're so pleased with that we're great. We did the aquatic center in connection with the partnership with North Charleston.
Ms. Crosby?
Yeah, so 5 to 10 year plan to deal with infrastructure and to accommodate growth. Obviously, just like any other plan, you got to look at where you've been, you got to look at where you are, you got to look at where you're going. You have to have a singular vision. You have to have a vision that everybody agrees with. So the district, the board level, we need to all decide what it's going to look like for us in 10 years, what our vision is. The vision statement here in Dorchester County already includes the idea that we're going to be a world-class school district and provide world-class education to every student. So we need to start with that. Singular vision, what's it going to look like? We can't do it, as all of my colleagues up here have said, we can't do it without the funds. We can't do it without partnerships at the local level. We can't do it without some partnerships and some advocacy at the state level. So we have to look at those plans, and the key there has to be some level of flexibility. We have to make some plans with some flexibility in mind. I work with real estate development on a day-to-day basis. I understand how quickly those plans can just go away. So what we can't do is be irresponsible and plan and spend a bunch of money on new ideas and new plans for infrastructure for development that never occurs. We can't do that either. We have to be responsible with the tax dollars. So being mindful, having people involved in those relationships, having people involved in that day-to-day work, it's key for our board right now, and so we need people with vision who can stick to a plan.
All right, so the 5-year plan for infrastructure, right now on the drawing boards, we have a new middle school coming next to Beach Hill Elementary School, and miraculously, we pulled that off without a bond referendum, so it's all paid with impact fees largely, and that let growth pay for growth. So I'm all in favor of reinstating the impact fees, and it took about 10 years to get enough money in impact fees to pay for that school. But again, we have mega developments coming. We have tens of thousands of new homes that have been approved, proposed. They're coming. So we have to get the impact fees in place, and hopefully that will be enough to pay for 1 or 2 new schools. Worst case scenario, I don't want to have to do a bond referendum. That falls on everybody, not just the homeowners, businesses, everybody. So if we can avoid that and let growth pay for growth, I'm all in favor of that. And really, the biggest thing is seeing where this virtual academy goes. So I've been really impressed As much as we've heard horror stories about the hybrid model and e-learning, there's been a lot of success and happy people with virtual academies. And we have a really good leader, Dr. Greg Harrison. He's in charge. I'm all in favor of letting that reduce overcrowding in schools. And for students that works for, we need to expand that and make sure that's the future. But really, yeah, just coming up with a plan, 5 and 10 years, we've been doing that as a board. We ask our superintendent every year, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? That's something that we started. Thank you.
Strategic plans are wonderful, but they're based on daily plans. Strategic plans change. There's so many uncontrollable variables out there. The new industry that's coming to our district, we need to ask those people, what are you going to do for us? We can do something for you. We got the best school system in the state of South Carolina. What are you going to do financially for us? Are you going to share your employees with us? Are you going to take your management expertise and share with us? Are you going to, what percentage of your parents you think are going to be involved in our schools? I think the other question is, we need to go with county council. If I'm not mistaken, there's a committee on county council called the Economic Development Committee. The principal, one principal from elected by the other principals, one superintendent, Mr. Pye, 2 students, senior from each high school, meet with those people. Just like Ms. Crosby said earlier, we get surprised. We shouldn't be surprised. I think we also need to go with the impact fee, and I'm going to say something that's very unpopular, but I'm going to say it. We need a 1% sales tax to go directly to school construction and nothing else. And the majority of these people, we had a referendum, I guarantee you'll support 1%. You can't even get a piece of bubble gum for a penny. So let's be proactive on this. Thank you.
We need to harness that growth to fund our schools. All of us know that Dorchester District 2 does not have fiscal autonomy. We need to look at input studies with the county council and ask them to introduce an adequate public facilities ordinance that will facilitate also with permits and will help with this and have a discussion. Have county council talk with us about permits and have that discussion so we can put an impact fee on this new development. We don't have to wait for Columbia. We have a tremendous growth here in Dorchester County. We can put impact fees, and this is what we need. We need to lower the burden on the average citizen and put it where it should be. We know this is monies, but Dorchester District 2 does not have fiscal autonomy, number one. We have to go to county council. So as a result, with all these new buildings going up, we need to go and talk with them to develop an ordinance, a facilities ordinance, if you will. So how much money is we going to apply for those impact fees for all these new buildings? And this will certainly alleviate our, thank you.
If we're going to approach a strategic plan, we have to have first a positive and open relationship with town and county council. If we're going to have a seat at the table, we have to make sure that we can approach them positively and understand that we have a 50-50 partnership invested in this. They want to see industry come to our area. We want to see it as well because that industry means more students, more growth. We have to manage that growth responsibly. My wife and I don't have the luxury in our home of overspending. Once we run out of money, we're done. So I don't necessarily, I'm different from everybody else. I don't think we have a budget issue. I think we have an allocation issue. I would like to review the budget and see where we can effectively allocate some funds in a different area. I think we also really need to find a way to get behind the virtual element, embrace it tough, and try to figure, I don't think the answer is always building new schools. Those are costly. If we can find a way to embrace virtual and foster to those parents that are going to move their child into that area, that will open up, shrink classroom sizes and open up space in the structures we have standing now. We need to work with what we have if we can, as opposed to always spending to try to grow. Sometimes growth can be managed with in what you're given. Doesn't always mean you have to go out and spend, but when you do, that's when you partner with the Boeings, the Bosches, the Volvos, the Walmart that's coming into Dorchester County. Find ways to partner with these industry leaders and say, we're going to devote our students to making sure they're workforce ready for you. We need a commitment from you to make sure we get them there as well. This is a joint effort. We got to walk through this with hand in hand. Thank you.
All right, so we're getting to the end of the evening, and we're going to have a little rules change so we can get this final question in and give everybody time for closing statements. Everyone will have 60 seconds in order to answer this particular question, okay? 60 seconds. All right, so this next question goes to Mr. Weaver. Mr. Weaver, how do you intend to keep DD2 schools ranked among the highest in South Carolina?
To keep DD2 schools ranked among the highest in South Carolina, we have to continue the model that we currently have in our classrooms with our teachers, starting with curriculum. We ensure that that curriculum is delivered. We partner with industry on that curriculum. And also we want to ensure that the funding model is reviewed and enhanced to ensure we have enough funds to support the delivery that we need in our schools on a day-to-day basis. We also want to ensure that we focus on the partnerships with industry and also teacher recruitment. Thank you.
I think a critical piece in keeping DD2 schools ranked among the top in our state and country is having high quality, successful family and parent and community involvement in all of our schools. Research has shown that when students have parents and family and community members invested in their education and supporting them, they are more successful, they have higher test scores, they have a more positive attitude about school, and they have higher aspirations. I think it would go a long way to supporting our teachers, and I think it would make our district continue to be the great district that it is.
We are in the top 10 with academics in Dorchester too. I think we're all very proud of that. I think one of the things that I've advocated for before is that we put civics back into the schools. Civics teaches government, and so many of our kids right now don't know anything about government, as we can see with all the election mess that's going on right now. Another thing is Ms. Hughes and Ms. Tupper and I go to Washington, D.C. every year, and we advocate for teachers. We advocate for our schools. We go up there and find out what's going on and how things should go so we can bring it back here and introduce it to our district to make it a better district. So we find out things that will go on that we can use in the future and what would work best for our area, not necessarily what they're doing, but how we can manage it to work where it would work best for us. The facilities is something that we have to always look at too, because when we don't build a new school and we have to make repairs, and I was on the facilities committee, I don't know how many times, we have to be able to.
As a board member, I think the thing that I can do to help keep District 2 ranked among the highest is to be a good listener. Meet with our teachers, meet with our parents, meet with our administrators, meet with district level leadership, and make sure I'm listening to what their needs are. They have already gotten us to the point where we're ranked high and ranked in the top 10, as Ms. Crosby stated. As a coach, it was never my goal going into a season to be ranked in the top 10. It was always to win all of them. College coach instilled that into me. I want to win them all the time. Not some of them, some of the time. So I want us to compete and expect to be the best district in South Carolina, whether we have the money to compete with those top-ranked districts or not. I think our leadership does that. I think they have that goal every year, and I want to listen to them and find out what they need from us to ensure that we can achieve that.
Right. Biggest thing that we can do to keep this good thing going is just the culture of excellence and leadership and family. So how do we get these good results without the budget? It's our people. We develop leaders in our district, and we as a board member, we trust our leaders in this district. We have the best administrators in the state, and they make our job easily, honestly. So it's really just, as a board, picking a superintendent, having that superintendent pick the best people. I think that's what we have as a luxury in our district. So if we can get by with the budget we have and still get the same results, we need to keep doing it as much as possible and just keep this thing going. But again, that's probably just the main thing is just, besides our people, is just advocate for more money and a better budget structure from Columbia. So thank you.
When you reach the top, it's very hard to stay there. It's a lot easier to climb up when you're very, very low. I think we need a campaign in this district to make the parents and everyone involved, the business community, realize what a tremendous asset they have. And I think we need to celebrate those people. Parents need to step up and take more responsibility for their children. And thank you, PTA. You do that every day. We need to continue to get the contractors to step up, the business community to step up. We trust these teachers with the most precious possession we have. It's time to trust our educators with the money. And I know tonight I've sounded a little angry. I'm not angry, I'm passionate. I've spent 50 years of my life doing this, and I have a grandson and I have a daughter that's an administrator in this district. Let's celebrate what we have and make it better. Thank you.
I think in being number one in the top, looking at it simultaneously, you have to continue to do what you're doing presently. That is that culture I was talking about. We need to put our teachers and the parents into the equation. We must realize that being here in Dorchester District 2 is changing on so many different levels. And we must capture that spirit. And if we do, obviously, we're going to be number one, and we will continue to be number one. We have an amazing culture here in Dorchester District 2, an amazing culture. We have people that believe in our students, our teachers, and of course our administrators. And we have this. We got this. Thank you.
So in order to stay at the top of the pack, I think one thing we have to focus on is to be a champion for teachers and student focus. We have to give them things like proper planning periods, help them to teach to educate, not teach to test. I think workforce readiness is another focal point that we need to focus on hard, because if the county's going to try to solicit business and bring those partners in industry to us, we have to make sure we're sending them adequate employees and people who are properly trained in their fields. I think the community involvement and the investment is going to take everything we got. As a parent, I know what it means to go to my kids' schools and ask the administrators and the educators what we could do to support them and help them. Things don't come as easy to them as we like to think they do. So it's going to take a partnership and investment on the community, because this is an all-out effort. It's going to take a three-pronged approach to make sure this community grows at the same level, not one offsetting the other. And then just keep our top-of-the-line resources in our institutions. We've got to make sure our high schools, middle schools, elementary schools always have the best electronic devices, the best supplies, the best facilities, and I'm out of time.
I think to maintain our level, we need to, first of all, have high expectations for everyone in our district and expect the best, and that is through our policies and our procedures. Expect that the result is going to be the best that you can give us. And the second thing that we can do is to make sure that every decision, action we take is child-focused. And if our actions and decisions are based on what is best for the 26,000 students we have, whether it is who we hire, what curriculum we use, what high school schedule we will have, all of those decisions need to be based on what is best for our children.
Alrighty, so we have 60 seconds for closing statements. Ms. Wimberly.
I am a mom to 4 boys who all attend school here in DD2. I am invested in our school. I have spent countless hours volunteering in our schools. I am passionate about them, about the schools in this community, and about education. I am an advocate for our children. I am a great supporter of our teachers. I will listen, I will work together, I will collaborate, I will communicate, and I will build relationships. And I can assure you that every decision I make, I will always put what is best for our children first.
Well, I've kept my word and I've kept my promises over the years since I've been on this board. I've put children first. I've had transparency and accountability, proving that I have the integrity, the motivation, the inspiration, and the respect to continue to serve on this DD2 school board. I will continue to advocate for students and teachers and be a team player with our other board members with the willingness to reach a consensus on what's best in the best interest of our children. I'm proud to have been a part of this district and proud of this board, whether I get back on or not. This district is the best district. It's a good district. I retired from Berkeley County, and I still believe that DD2 is a great district. It's above that. I've earned the right to be reelected to this DD2 school board based on my reputation and based on what I've done and my belief and my love for children. And I certainly hope that you see that too. I will continue also to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money, because we all ask questions. I've been on the budget committee for that too. So I will earnestly ask and appreciate your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks again, PTA, for putting this together for us. Meaningful opportunity to get out in front of voters again, and we appreciate it. I'm a husband and a father first and foremost. I think the biggest role I play in this life is to lead my family towards God and to teach my girls to treat people well. I think my service in our district exemplifies that. I think the amount of time I've spent with the young people and the families in this district proves that I have a heart and passion for this district and for our schools and for our young people. I believe I have a duty to serve this community in the most meaningful way possible, and I think the different paths I've taken in life have all led me to and prepared me for this opportunity to serve. So I appreciate your vote on November the 3rd or tomorrow if you're going to early absentee voting.
So every 7 board meetings, we get an opportunity to lead prayer as a board member. And I say the same prayer every single time. Please give this board the strength, wisdom, courage, and guidance to do what's truly in the best interest of all 26,000 students in this district. And I feel that I've embodied that every single opportunity I've had. We're tireless to make this the best possible district that we can. In the past 4 years, we've had record graduation rates. The test scores by most metrics have gone up. And really, I'm just proud of the strides we've made in the last 4 years. And if given another chance to do another 4 years, I want to work tirelessly to make the best possible district that we can. That's just the metric we go by each year is what can we do to compete against ourselves each year to give our students the best chance of success. And that's what I go by and all the board goes by. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
I think all my public life, I've worked. I believe in prayer, and I believe in administrative responsibilities. I'm not in this for compensation. I'm in this for the love of children and community. I've received several awards for my work throughout the community. We have literally adopted over 200 children. We give them the books, their food, and guidance, and we have our computer labs to work with them. We seek no awards for that. We feel that this is our responsibility, and thank you.
So I'm a product of Dorchester District 2. I have kids in Dorchester District 2. I am fully invested in Dorchester District 2. As a father with my kids, I try to get out and do what I can for them, but also for our community. I spend a lot of time volunteering and leading efforts to either bring awareness or resources to those people in need. I'm originally from New Jersey. I moved down here and went to Alston Middle School, and I'm a firm believer in community and family. That's how I was raised. My parents were very involved in my education. I seek to do the same in this role. Community has to elevate together. We cannot have industry lead and have a school system that's falling behind, and we cannot have a school system that is excelling with no jobs coming to our area. It has to be a collective effort and a partnership. In my background with business and the efforts I've put in this community, I'm confident that I'm one of the individuals up here that's going to take a seat and help move this district forward with all the challenges. So I thank you for being here tonight, and I ask for your support starting tomorrow, as Mr. Digby alluded to, until November 3rd. Thank you.
One of the reasons that, the main reason that I ran for a school board 12 years ago was because I believe that education is a powerful tool. And I wanted every child to have access to that to better their futures. That is the same reason that I'm seeking re-election now, because my children have graduated, but Somerville is my home, and your child and your child and your child, they matter to our community, and we need to make sure that every child that walks through our doors receives a quality education so they can be productive when they graduate. And if I am reelected, I commit that I will serve every child. Thank you.
Leadership comes from experience, and I've talked about my experience this evening, and I have a proven track record working locally with our school district on many different initiatives over the last 7 years. So I'm ready to lead day one and serve day one. I want to also assist in navigating our digital divide that we're currently experiencing with our teachers, our parents, and our kids. I want everyone to remember a vote for James Weaver is a vote for a veteran still serving in the South Carolina Army National Guard. A vote for James Weaver is a vote for an educator. A vote for James Weaver is a vote for a community leader and a voice for you. Remember, leave it to Weaver, vote James Weaver, November 3rd. Thank you.
Well, we're going to wrap up this evening. I'd like to thank everybody at home for tuning in, as well as the District 23 PTA for putting on this very, very impressive event. Lastly, but most importantly, I would like to thank all of you for being here this evening. And not only that, but for putting yourself out there. This position is probably, well, it's not probably, it is the most important board that we have within Dorchester County. It's the largest economic engine, and at the end of the day, it probably has the greatest responsibility with the least amount of glamour to go with it. So we all would just like to give you a big round of applause for putting yourself out there and coming tonight. Remember to vote by November 3rd. Thank you.